Welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. If you're tuning in for the first time, then welcome. On this podcast, we explore everything around self-healing, health, personal growth, the mind-body connection, relationships, and more. In each episode, I want to challenge you, I want to empower you so that you can deepen the connection that you have with yourself. Hey friends, I hope everyone is well. I am back today with an episode on things women can work on to improve the state of their health. So listen in, ladies, this one is directed to you. But what I will say is what I'm speaking on today, it's not just limited to showing up in women. These are certain patterns or adaptations, I like to put it, that I see more so in my women clients and ones that I've noticed in myself as well, that I know can really keep our nervous system stuck in a threat state. And over time, this impacts our health. What I also know, though, is that if we can work on some of these things I'll share today and get to the root cause of these adaptations, then our nervous system has this ability to return to a state of balance. So the things I'm going to speak on today, they're not so much things like a nourishing diet, movement, understanding our cycle, supplements, anything like that, which, by the way, I really agree on and I think are all very important. But instead, I'm going to be talking about these adaptations, more mental and emotional, that lead to us showing up in a particular way. These habits that become autopilot through neuroplasticity. I am so glad that we're starting to see more research and talk about the fact that what is going on emotionally and mentally and spiritually is a huge reflection of what shows up in our body. So yes, of course, movement's super important. A good diet is really important, but we also have to become aware of our mental patterns and the beliefs behind these patterns so that we can look at different choices and make different choices and show up in a different way. So research tells us that autoimmune issues are far higher in women. Chronic disease rates are high in general these days, but also higher in women. We know that hormonal issues are really common. There's a lot going on with the state of our health, generally speaking, in this day and age. And I have a theory about this because technically, we live in a world where, we've had advancements in so many areas that you would think that our health would improve, but it's actually not. I think in terms of women specifically, a lot of the ways that we show up come down to conditioning and living in more of a patriarchal world, or what has been a patriarchal world until this point. And that's not me being anti-men, actually quite the opposite, but I'm just stating the facts. If we think about what is valued in our modern society, it's the doing and the achieving. So there's that aspect. And then there's a few other things like the differences in our biology and brain structure, our hormones, and many more factors that all come into play. It can be a challenge for everyone to navigate and keep up with the fast-paced society that we live in today. And I think in particular, when it comes to us women, we unconsciously a lot of the time cut this awareness from our bodies to get by. We become really out of touch with our little cues, our energy shifts, and ignore them or put them on the back burner because we are just trying to keep up. That's the way the world goes. Another element that I want to speak on is that we all, like men and women, learn about people in general, what is bad, what is wrong, what is acceptable, growing up. We have all these labels and we learn this through our conditioning. And in order to stay safe and get love, we disconnect from things, from parts of us that we don't perceive are great, and we put forward what is right, what will help us receive love and be seen as desirable. So different things are expected from different genders within society. And for women, a lot of it is around being well-behaved, performing in a certain way. This all becomes very unconscious and still impacts us years later into adulthood. Anyway, I'm just throwing around a few theories, giving a bit of context, a bit of a backstory. because then it will make more sense as to why women are more inclined to do these things that I share today. I find with us women, many of us live in this state of armoring in our bodies. We're rigid, we feel uptight, and we move through life disconnected again to these sneaky patterns that I will share soon, or adaptions that can dysregulate our nervous system. Because again, we are adapting to society, we're adapting to the world around us, and we're losing touch with the ways that we show up and the signals that our body's giving us. So essentially, to round out this, we get out of balance. We swing too far in one direction, and we're either overgiving, becoming overly responsible to everyone else's emotions, overly empathetic, or the other side of it is this shutdown, independence, controlling, and these are some of the things I'll explain soon. So let's get into it. Chances are you are going to resonate with more than one of these adaptations or habits. They are adaptations and habits because they are not who you are. I can promise you that. But what I recommend doing is just picking one or two and just focusing in on that for the week ahead, becoming aware of where this sneaky pattern shows up, and then looking at your choices in every situation. And this takes conscious, consistent effort because remember, our brain will always want to revert to what it knows. And these are patterns like I've been talking on that have been deeply embedded in us women. So it just takes some time to really recognize when we're doing these things. So the first thing to let go of if you want to improve your health is overgiving beyond your current capacity. And I say current capacity because our capacity in each season in our life can actually change. So this shows up when you are saying yes and you're overcommitting just out of habit, out of autopilot, when you actually don't have the energy or you want to say no and you're feeling depleted in the body. And the reason this impacts our health is because it leads to that threat response in the body. When we are giving, but our body is saying no, you need to rest. No, you don't really want to be doing that. And later down the track, it can actually lead to stored resentment because you are resenting giving so much when perhaps you're not getting it in return. And it can even lead to, misdirected resentment towards other people when really it's like you've got to sometimes turn the spotlight back on yourself and see where you're giving when you should actually be saying no. Funnily enough, a lot of my clients that come in with chronic health issues are nurses, they're teachers, they're mothers. They're in those really giving, nurturing roles. And it's so easy to have all your energy focused on everyone else, but miss your own body's cues. If you're doing that when you have nothing left in the tank, that over time is when it starts to impact your health. So if you're resonating to this one, what can you do? I think it really comes down to seeing and tuning into where and who and at what times are you automatically saying yes and disregarding your intuition or your body's cues. This is so common. I will say if you're doing this, there's nothing wrong. I used to be queen at people pleasing. It just takes practice because our body cannot sustain this depletion mode when you're pouring into everyone else apart from yourself. So where can you set boundaries? Where can you rest? Where can you give back to yourself first? And what do you do to refuel your own tank? Okay, the next thing that we can practice letting go of to really boost our health is this good girl mentality. This good girl mentality is that whole thing that we are, again, socialized with from a very early age. Women or girls, don't be too much. Don't make such a fuss. Just stay small, stay quiet, avoid conflict, and put other people's needs before your own, which kind of circles back to that one I just talked on. This can show up in so many ways. Often I'll find where we judge someone else for living their life in a certain way or what they are wearing or what they're doing, and it triggers us. that is where we've got some work to do on the good girl mentality. Who are they to shine that bright? Who are they to be doing that? That's where we realize that we've got some beliefs around what a woman should be doing with her life. So it's a really interesting one. As a woman, our power is being all that we want to be. I've really noticed remnants of this mentality around showing up fully, like trusting that I can shine and it doesn't mean I'm too much, or I can speak assertively and it doesn't mean that I'm aggressive. It also comes into the beliefs that we hold around our sensuality, our sexuality, and our pleasure, because so many of these topics are still taboo, which is crazy because they are innately a part of us. And they're also really important things to explore as a part of our overall health. So yeah, the good girl mentality, do your best to identify where it's showing up still in your life. It still pops up in my life. It's just having that awareness. And like I said, I think the first point is really starting to notice where you judge yourself, but also importantly, where you judge others about how they are living, how they are showing up, because then there'll be some feedback there around how you think things should be, which is a belief system likely rooted in that good girl mentality. Another thing for me that helps me notice it and let go of it is when I notice I stifle my natural response due to fear of looking a certain way. So if I want to say something, but I notice, oh, is that too much? It's first of all noticing it and then just recognizing where our choices are. Because I can promise you it's never too much when you are being yourself, you are being authentic, and that is where your power is. The third thing that I find really gets in the way of us having good health is this perfectionism, always wanting to get things perfect or do things to such a high level. These expectations, internal expectations we place on ourselves. This impacts our health because it leads to consistent, self-critical thinking. It causes so much rigidity in our body. Even if I think of the times when I'm slipping into perfectionism, I'm in my head, I'm completely disconnected from my body, I'm tight in my shoulders and my jaw. It's just this like consistent beating yourself up when you haven't done a job that you feel is good enough. It's this consistent striving. And the thing is, perfectionism, it doesn't even exist. It's not even a thing. It's an illusion. It gets in the way of us enjoying the present moment and acknowledging how far we have actually come. And it stops us from following our intuition because we're thinking, well, I'm not ready to start that yet unless I finish this, or I'm not ready to take the next step because everyone will be judging me, or something needs to be done to this level before I feel ready. And, I'm thinking of times when my clients have talked on it. It's even showing up in things like, I have to have the whole house tidy before my friend can come over. And if I don't, then they're going to judge me. Or I have to make sure that my family has a really healthy meal every day of the week because that is important for our health. Notice the have-tos. That is where we really trip ourselves up. It's this constant pressure to maintain this perfected version of our life, and it's just not beneficial. What if the house wasn't tidy one time? What if you got takeaways one day? Like, we do this in such sneaky ways. We do it with our appearance. I won't be happy until I've lost the last 5 kilos. And, it doesn't help that we see everyone's perfected social media. So anyway, the point of this one, if you're resonating with this, where can you look at and where can you filter out and extract out in your life things that are going well for you, things that you are proud of, how far you have come, where you can find moments of joy and compassion in this moment, in this present moment. Yes, it is about working towards a goal, but also acknowledging what you have done to this point. Because Otherwise, we're rushing through life. We're setting these high expectations. And again, it's impacting our health. And perfectionism, from my own experience, not only is it living in your head consistently because you're taking a really analytical approach to things, and you're disconnected from your body, it's also very closely interlinked with overwhelm, because if you are placing these high expectations on yourself consistently, that is going to slip you into overwhelm. So let it go. Just focus on those sneaky ways. For me, it's actually showing up on this podcast. I move through it when I choose to show up as myself and not have this perfected version of an episode. I move through it every time I take action. I move through it when I cut myself some slack. We can do this in these small moments. Okay, the next thing we need to start shifting to improve our health is not accepting support when it is needed. Now, I think many of us women are really reluctant to accept or ask for help because it can make us feel dependent on others, or sometimes it's like you don't want to burden others with your problems or your needs, especially if you've been in that caretaking role. But both of these create a barrier to connection because we are a species that should be relying on others. We cannot do things alone. And as women, again, speaking for myself, I really have reflected on so many ways in the past where I have not been in my receiving. Not only did I find it hard to ask or seek support, but I also found it hard to receive without thinking I must do something back or give something back. If it's a compliment, I'd rush in to give one back. If it was someone wanting to help me, I'd think, yeah, I'd love that, but what can I give you back? Or is there an ulterior motive? So I think a lot of us, we don't receive very well. And we also don't ask for help very well. So this impacts our health because, like I said, we are not meant to be doing it all alone. And I know that we work in a society and we're against a society where many of us do feel like we're doing it alone. And that's a whole other topic of conversation. There's so many structural things that need to change. But if this is you, where you can start to make new choices is actually reaching out to people and asking for support. If somebody is gifting you something or helping you with something, it's actually just receiving it and graciously and being okay with that and knowing that hyper independence is not healthy. It's really not. I think the way of the future is going to be a lot more community, village orientated. I hope it goes that way. But until then, this is just a reminder, you should not be expected to do it all alone. It's okay to accept support. It's okay to ask for help and it not mean anything. And it's okay to receive. And think about, actually one more thing I want to say, think about someone asking you. Chances are you would not think twice about supporting someone if it was needed. So don't hold that same level of shame when it comes to yourself. Okay, the last one for today, something that we can work on to improve our health is not gripping too tightly to control outcomes. Control is an adaptation that we've taken on to create safety, a sense of safety. And I get it. I think a lot of us today feel unsafe in this world, especially women. It may be at an unconscious level that we feel this, but we grasp onto control and rigidity as a very smart, from our nervous system, a smart way to keep us, as an attempt to keep us safe. Control is a false sense of illusion. It really is. And it can lead to anxiety, to stress, to burnout. And again, it keeps us out of touch with our body's cues. And I get it, for certain roles and responsibilities, there needs to be a sense of organization, of control. If you're in management, if you're raising children, but it's more around when is this energy and this way of thinking useful, and when is it not useful? Because what I find is a lot of people take this energy of control, I don't even know if control is the right word, but this rigidity from their workplace into their home life, or vice versa. Control can also look like constantly thinking about the worst case scenario, knowing that if we've thought about that and it happens, then we already feel like we're going to know what to do, which is, again, not useful at all. It can look like hoping so much that something will go in towards a certain outcome, but really so much of life is out of our control. So we are in this energy of control when we're thinking about other people's behaviors, the way other people are showing up. We're in this energy of control when we're not delegating, when we're not, again, asking for support. And actually, I noticed I was in this pattern a lot due to previous traumas and stresses in past relationships, when I would feel more at ease if I was leading or in control, which sounds really toxic, but I promise it wasn't. Just more in the sense of unconsciously, I felt safer if I could call the shots, essentially. And I think, again, this comes up in so many sneaky ways in our relationships, at home, in the workplace. What I've learned is the more that you move through life and you are shown how little control you have outside of your own thoughts, your own responses, your own behaviors, that's when you can really start to make the choice to let go. And this has happened. I have changed immensely through this. I still work on this, but I have changed so much around the way I view where all of my mental energy goes since my mum has passed. Because what I realize is there's just so much outside of my control. What's the point in me consistently mentally attaching to outcomes in my head when really it's wasted energy? So I want you to sit on this. I know I've gone a bit like off in many directions in this point, but control, we need to learn to let it go. And the more we can do that, the more at ease we will be in our mind and body and stay out of that stress response. So where can you bring in a sense of flexibility? Where can you think about the best case scenario, not the worst case scenario? Where can you delegate and let someone do something and not judge them, not think, I could do it better? Where can you place your mental energy? Where can you find a sense of safety? These are all really important questions to ask. Okay, guys, I've actually got one more. I thought we were at the end, but I've got one more. So the last thing I want to touch on, something to let go of to improve your health, is to stop asking for everyone else's opinions about your own life before you consult with yourself first. I think as women, again, this is a generalization, but we tend to do this a lot. We are going to ring up our friends. We're going to think, what do you think about this? Do you think about this? Family members. We tend to ask people about our life and what choices we should make when they're not even heading in the same direction as us. They don't even have the same goals as us. It's like I used to ask a lot of people about, people with great intentions, by the way, but about business and what I should do in certain aspects. And then I thought, well, actually, why am I asking them when they're not taking this path? You know, it's just this unconscious habit that we do. We consult with others before we consult with ourselves. And why this impacts our health, again, is because as soon as other people's input comes in, we start to doubt our own intuition. I genuinely believe that we do know best if we sit with ourselves enough to tune in to what's going on. This is the uncomfortable bit. It's so much easier to quickly ask for someone else's opinion. So notice where you are doing this. Notice where you tend to gather heaps of information or go to someone else first before checking in with yourself. And every time you can check in with yourself first, you can think about how you feel first. That's going to help you build that trust within and also help you get in touch with your body's cues of what feels like a yes and what feels like a no. Because when we go to someone else first, there's no chance for us to connect in with the sensations in our body For example, a yes might feel like a feeling of relief in the body, like, yeah, I should do that. That's what should be done for the family. Or a no might feel just like tight shoulders or holding in certain parts of the body. And we're missing that feedback when we're not having that space to tune in. So make sure you're checking in with yourself. Another way to do this is just journaling, writing a question at the top of a page, and then just letting yourself sort of journal freestyle. I find that really helps me, pen to paper. But trust yourself. You do have the answers within. This has taken me some time to really comprehend, but it's true. You have the answers within. So stop going to everyone else first. So we're coming towards the end of the episode. I feel like I've gone on a few different tangents in this episode, so I'm just going to wrap these points up again. Here are common patterns and adaptations that become unconscious that we as women do that if you can work on will improve your health. The first one, stop overgiving beyond your current capacity. Second one, let go of the good girl mentality and be aware of where this shows up in your life. Number 3, drop the perfectionism and stop always trying to do things the right way. Stop resisting support and start accepting and receiving support. Number 5, let go of gripping too tightly to control outcomes. And number 6, check in with yourself before you check in with others' opinions. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. I'm just reflecting as I'm finishing here and just thinking like how passionate I am about women's health. I actually had like no notes or prompts to record this episode. So that just shows how in flow I am when I'm speaking on this topic in particular. I will be releasing an offering in the second half of the year designed for women to reconnect to their body, to find their power again. And I'm really excited about this. It feels very in line with where I'm at personally and the way that I have grown in myself in the last few years. So as always, please take time just to rate this podcast, to share it, to send it to anyone that you think would really benefit from tuning in. It really means a lot to me, and I always appreciate you reaching out and hearing your feedback. I hope you all have a beautiful week, and I will see you on the next episode.